everyone, this is Varsha and welcome to Programming Knowledge. So today we are going to understand what is GitHub and what is the difference between Git and GitHub. Also, we're going to have some installations of Git. So let's get started. So now, what do you think is GitHub? Like, do you also feel that the Git and the GitHub are the same? Let me tell you, they are not the same. They are different. Now, GitHub is basically a Git repository hosting service. I know there is a lot of technical terms coming in here. Let's take up an example. So, for example, here I have the command prompt. Okay, so this is the command prompt, and if I type cd, okay, cd slash, and then I type d. So I'm changing my directory, right? From C directory, I'm changing to D directory. Now this operation can also be performed in a different manner. If I simply just open this PC, and here I can see I have the C drive, I have the D drive, I have E and F. I can simply just click on the D drive and I can see all the files that is present on my D drive. Okay. So this is how I can change my directory by using a graphical user interface. Same goes with Git and GitHub. For Git, I have the command prompt. This is the command prompt of Git, and whereas this is the GitHub. Okay. So as I said, GitHub is a Git repository hosting service. Now, GitHub also facilitates with many of its features, such as we have access control, we have collaboration, and it also provides a web-based graphical interface. As we have seen right now, as you just saw right now, you saw the GitHub, right? You saw the GitHub account. So it provides a web-based graphical interface. Apart from that, also it has the source code management functionality of Git. Okay. It also facilitates many features, like we can track our bugs, we can create an issue for every project, and many more. Like for example, over here, you could see, right, if I click on this PC, you could see the C drive, how much it's empty. Like we have 122 GB is free of 222 GB. You could see how much space is filled and how much it's not. So these are some of the various functionality that the GUI is providing for this feature. Whereas when we go to GitHub, we have different features. We have the collaboration features. We can create an issue, we can raise a bug, and many more. Okay, many more. These are the repositories where we can upload your repositories. You can upload your projects also, and many more. Okay, so these are the different types of functionalities that the GitHub provides us. So now, do you know how the GitHub works? You have understood what is GitHub. You understood what is the difference between Git and GitHub. But how does GitHub work? This is the biggest question. Let us take up an example and understand this, that how GitHub works. Now here I am connecting all these examples with real life examples so that there is better understanding of how GitHub works. Okay. So for example, we have a group of people over here who are working on the same project. That is Bella, Edward, Jacob, and Alice. Okay. Now they are working on an e-commerce website, but even though they work on the same project, they don't work on the same part of the world. Some is in Germany, some is in Australia, some is in India. And now the question comes that how do they do this? I mean, how do they collaborate? How do they work together since they are working on the same project? So how do they do this? They do it with the help of GitHub. But still the question comes, how? Okay. So now let us take up a scenario over here. Like while working on this project, this e-commerce website, Bella got an issue. She raised an issue on GitHub. Now you must be thinking, what is issue? Issues are discussion threads where people can report bugs, they can request a feature, or also they can ask a question. So here Bella asked a question and she raised an issue on the GitHub. She said that the updated information of the clients are not getting updated in the database. How to do it? Now here Alice sees it first. So she says that Jacob will help you out. Why? Because Jacob is expertise in database. Jacob sees this and he says that I am on it. Okay, so basically Jacob is working on the issue that is created by Bella. But there is a problem over here. Jacob said that now the product is used by many customers. There are multiple people are using this database right now and need to have a smooth functionality. We need to have an efficient functionality and a smooth functionality, right? So Jacob needs a platform to experiment his ideas to solve the problems. So what did Jacob did? He was working on new feature so that it should not hamper the other functionalities. What he did is he created a branch of the code. Okay, he created a different branch of the code that is just an alternate timeline where he can just safely make his changes, test those changes, like are those changes working or not, or also he can add some new features to it. It's just an alternate timeline, okay, which Jacob created. Now, when Jacob is ready to write the new features, and GitHub, since GitHub is tracking his changes, right, and he saves his changes. Whenever he does some changes, it is saved. And when he's done with the changes, he's done with all the changes and the features are done. He's tested and it's working properly. He collaborates with his team. He says that I'm done. He tells his team that I'm done with the changes, I'm done with the testing also. And he says with his team that to please come up and at least let's have a discussion on this feature. While discussion, many people discuss together and they come to a point where Edward says that we can make this more better. We can add more functionality to this and we can make this product more better. Since the best part over here is that on GitHub, like everyone is having a copy of the project. So now if Edward is having an amazing idea, he can add it to the code himself. Like here you can see this is the Edward branch of code. This is the code which Edward created. Okay, he just took a branch of the code and he added his functionality. Since it's on GitHub, he is having the copy of the code. He added the code that he wanted to. And now he will review the final changes. The final changes will be reviewed by all the teammates and then it will be approved. So here Bella, who raised an issue, she says that this is the best we can do, let's deploy it. This means that once the team has signed off all the changes, Jacob can add the new code into the project. The new features will now be available to all the employees as Jacob merges it. Okay, he merges the code that he has written and now the issue is solved and also the new features added to the project. Like as you can see, this was the first product and this product was having some issues. Then we had Jacob created a new timeline. He just created an alternate timeline where he can safely make changes and test those changes before deployment. So he created an alternate timeline. Edward came and said that we can improve this product in a more better way. He also created an alternate. So what he did, so Edward came and he told that he can create the project in a more better way. He can add more functionalities. So he added his branch of code in the project. Since GitHub is having a copy of the project, since everyone is working on GitHub, so they have the copy of the project. So if Edward is having some amazing idea, he can add it to the code himself. And what does Jacob do? He just puts a merge pull request on the GitHub and the product is having the new features and the problem or the issue that the Bella raised is also solved. So you see, this is how GitHub works. And it is the largest community of developers in the world. Like millions of people are sharing their projects over here. So now we can say that GitHub is a platform where people can solve their problems by building their softwares together. So I hope that you understood that how GitHub works and you got to know the difference between the Git and the GitHub. Now let's take it to a more deeper level. Let's understand the proper difference between the Git and GitHub. Now Git is a software, whereas GitHub is a service. Git is a command line tool. Like I have showed you an example of the command line. So this Git is a command line tool, whereas GitHub is a graphical user interface. It is a GUI. Okay. Now Git is installed locally on the system, where GitHub is hosted on the web. we need to install the Git, whereas GitHub, we just host it on the web, okay? Cut. Git is maintained by Linux and GitHub is maintained by Microsoft. Git is focused on version control and code sharing, whereas the GitHub is focused on centralized source code hosting. As I said, GitHub has many other features which Git does not have, okay? Now, Git is a version control system to manage the source code history, whereas the GitHub is a hosting service for Git repositories. It is just a hosting service for Git repositories, okay? And yes, Git was released in 2005, whereas GitHub was launched in 2008. And yes, GitHub has no user management feature, whereas GitHub has built-in user management features. This is one of the greatest feature which GitHub has, okay? So this is the basic difference between the Git and the GitHub. Now, let's go to the installation part. Let's create a GitHub account. So now, let's create the GitHub account. This is the GitHub official page where you can create your account. So first we need to write our username. So I'm going to write tutorials -git, and here it says tutorials git is available. Now you need to enter any of your email ID. So here I'm entering my email ID and also the password. So the password needs to have, it says that there should be at least 15 characters or 8 characters, and there should be a lowercase and a letter and also a number. So depending on your requirement, just keep a password that is according to the validation that is given over here. And here just click on verify. And here it says that pick the spiral galaxy. Just pick any one of them. Now here it says what kind of work do you do mainly. I am a software engineer. I write a code and also I educate people. So I'll just click on, since this tutorial is to educate people, so I'll just click on I educate people. And how much programming experience do you have? So I'll just say a moderate amount. I'm somewhat experienced. And what do you plan to use GitHub for? And we are planning to use GitHub for learning. So here I'll click on learn Git and GitHub. And if you're creating it for yourself, according to your requirement, you can select the options that is given over here. If you're a student, just go and click on student. And if you're in UX and design, so I draw interfaces, just click on this. And if you're a product manager, then click on this one. So depending on your work, just click any of the options that you're doing. This is the profile, that is the tutorials Git, where we have the repositories, the projects, the packages. And here it says there is no repository yet, there is no projects also. And here if I click on edit profile, it shows you can add your bio, you can add your company, your location, your website, or any username or Twitter username. And also you can set your profile picture as well. So this is just the GitHub. Now let's install the Git bash. So here on Google, I'll just type Git bash. So here just go on downloads Git. And here you can see we have the Mac, we have Windows and Linux. So I'll just click on Windows. Since for Mac it's already downloaded, but for Windows you need to download it. In Mac you don't need to download your Git bash because it's already downloaded for you. So here it's taking some time and it's done. So I'll just click on this. And just go click on next. Additional icons I wanted on the desktop also, and that's it. Go to next, go to next, go to next. go to next, 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 and next, and just install. You don't need to change any of the settings over here. Okay, so here the installation is done and it says that please wait while setup installs Git on your computer. So just wait for some time, and here it says that it's done. Complete the Git setup wizard, and I'll just write launch the Git bash. Now here if I create a folder, there is a folder named Git over here, and if I create it over here, and here you can see if I right click, I can see the Git GUI here and the Git bash here. So here when your Git bash is installed, what you can do is go to your search bar and just write Git bash, and I'll click over here. So here this Git bash I can see here, you can see, right? So if I write ls, it shows the list of the current directory contents. By default it will not show the hidden files. So to show the hidden files, if I write ls and space and -a, it will show the current the hidden files also. Okay, and apart from this, if I write pwd, that is the present working directory, it will show me the present working directory is users xyz. Okay, now if I write cd, and then if I write cd desktop, I will move to the desktop directory, and if I write ls, it will show me all the list of items that is there on my desktop. Okay, so this is just a basic command prompt of the our Git bash. We will be executing our Git commands on this Git bash. For example, the push commands, the creating a repository command, that is the Git init, and the we will add the files also through this Git bash. Okay, so these are some of the installations that we have done today. Also, we have created a GitHub account. Now, one of the most important thing is that now if you already have a GitHub account, you don't need to sign up like I did. So just if you already have a GitHub account where your repositories are there and you have pushed or pulled your projects, so just stay that way, let it be that way. What you can do is that you can go to control panel over here, and in control panel go to credential manager. In credential manager we have the Windows credential. So over here you can see we have the GitHub, right? Now since my official GitHub account is Varsha Kriplani 0210, so it will show over here. Now if I want to edit it, I want to add this tutorials Git, I need to edit it, I need to click on the edit button and edit it. Okay, whatever whatever username or the password is given over here, that account will only be accessed and you can push or pull your projects in it. And if I do it now, see in this case my username and password is Varsha Kriplani, right? So if I add my projects to tutorials Git, it will not happen, there will be an error, okay, through Git bash. So if I do it through Git bash, there will be an error. Whereas over here, if I'll just create a repository and add it directly, okay, if I want to add it. But through Git bash, it will create an error. So that's why I am saying that if you have already created your account, you don't need to create it again. And if you are creating it again just to learn how the GitHub works, so just remove it or edit the link that is given over here, edit the username and the password that is given over here so that you can perform all the operations properly. Okay, so I hope that you understood that how GitHub works. So I hope that you understand the today's tutorial. You understand that how the GitHub works, what is the difference between the Git and the GitHub, and also some of the installations that we did today, that is the Git bash, and we created a GitHub account. And now Now this is all for today, and in the next tutorial we are going to learn more about the GitHub in detail. So just stay tuned and please like, share and subscribe this video.